Well, Broncos country, a mile high salute to all of you on this snowy Saturday, man. We are 17 hours roughly away from kickoff of the Broncos, maybe 20 hours. I don't know what it is. Anyways, we're a day away from the Broncos getting ready to kick off versus the Kansas City Chiefs in a huge divisional matchup. A chance for the Broncos to really make a statement and get to 6-4 and be right in the thick of making it a very special season, all things considered. We're going to talk about some key matchups. We're going to talk about some of the important details that the Broncos are going to need to pay attention to in order to give themselves a chance to win on the road. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the predictions as well. Before we get into it, guys, if it's your first time on the channel, I appreciate you tuning in. Welcome. Thank you for everything. And consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm on a mission to try to get to 500, hoping to do it by end of season, so that we can grow this base and get a community going and go from there. But if you love Broncos news, if you love Avs and Nuggets stuff, stay tuned and hit that subscribe. I think you're gonna love it. Appreciate it in advance. All right, guys, the Broncos have a huge game against the Kansas City Chiefs tomorrow. They haven't won an Arrowhead in God knows how long, and it is imperative that they pay attention to the small details because these details can be the biggest key in terms of winning or losing. Now, some of you guys might think I'm crazy, but that 41-10 blowout that we all watched last week in Baltimore, it was 41-10 because of minor details. It really was. Because it's a completely different game if little small things are not taken care of. I'll give you an example. The Broncos are driving at the end of the half. They're down 17-7. They're putting a good drive together, and Bo Nix throws a swing pass out to Julian McLaughlin, and he decides to go out of bounds rather than staying inbounds. Okay, he doesn't do that. Even if the drive ends in a field goal like it did, now the Ravens basically have no time to be able to go down and make it a what ended up being a 24-10 halftime lead, right? So you're looking at a 17-10 halftime lead. That's a different ball game. Another thing, Bo Nix, a couple plays later, he sneaks, he buys himself some time. He takes off running. He scores a touchdown with his legs. And Garrett Bowles has a very bad holding call, but a very stupid holding call against the safety. There was no reason for him to even make it a decision for the ref. He does that. We don't get the touchdown. We end up settling for a field goal. So now instead of it being 17-14, you put those two mistakes together, you're talking about a 3-point game at half rather than a 14-point game at half. Little did we know they get the ball coming out at halftime. They go down and score. Now, Bo, he gets off the field at 17-10. He comes back on the field. It's 31-10. Ball game's over. It's crazy. So little details like that, right? We talked about that last week. It's going to be imperative in this game. And these are things that young team like the Denver Broncos are going to have to find out, and learn on the fly and make sure that they're good at if they want to win games like this, right? When to stay in bounds. And typically, Sean Payton coach teams have been really good at it. The Broncos, to their credit, have been much better at those little things since Sean Payton's taken over. But there comes a point where the players need to know, right? Coaches can only teach them so much. Players got to go out there and execute. They've got to be really good at this game. And it's going to come down to those little details, right? Making sure that you're playing clean, make sure that you're not getting stupid, unnecessary penalties, making sure that you're staying in bounds when you need to, going out when you need to, taking care of the football. It's been happening so much with this team, and I think it's cost them a lot of games. And it's even in those really good wins, it's still kept creeping its head. They have to take care of the small details. And one thing that really stood out to me is Sean Payton had the Broncos practicing outside yesterday. They did the walkthrough inside, and they went out and they got a really good full speed practice outside in the cold, in the super wet and rainy conditions. And he said the reason behind that was because he really wanted to get these players used to the footing, right, on the grass, getting them, because he anticipated that there was going to be the field conditions in Kansas City weren't going to be all that great. The weather looks like it's going to be good. They got some rain today. They do have the Kansas Jayhawks playing the Iowa State uh, right now, currently today. So they have a game on that field. So he thinks that the field might not be in the best condition. And I know it's something small and it's minute, but it's just goes to show that even he is emphasizing the smallest of details, right? Making sure the players are out there, they're prepared for a wet field, they're prepared to wear to wear the right types of cleats as needed. Um, and even though when you listen to stories like that, you think, man, that's just so extra. Does it really make a difference? Your goal, when you're a really good coach, your goal is to coach at or do things at 150% in hopes that your players respond at 100%. And so that's just another small example of that, and how I feel like it's really going to be in the details when it comes to this particular game. And I think that time management and playing the clock is always it's always such an underrated aspect of football that doesn't really get talked about enough. The only time the clock really ever gets brought up is when there's like 2 minutes left in the half and 2 minutes left at the end of the game, right? But when you look at the scheme of things, the clock is always something that you should be paying attention to, and making sure that you're taking advantage of whatever situations it can be. And that could help you dictate, when are you going to run, when are you going to throw, what kind of drive do you want to have to anticipate you getting the ball before half, so that you can kind of double up on possessions. There's so many different nuances. Like I said, don't really get talked about a lot, but I think is something that's extremely important when it comes to the game of football and being able to win or lose. So, like I said, with this team, those small little details are going to be huge, right? You're going to have penalties. Players are going to make mistakes, but you cannot have them at those timely, crucial plays, right? If you had if it's 3rd and 18 and you run a draw play and the running back gets 7 yards and there's a holding penalty, that doesn't really matter as much as if it happens, when you're getting a first down or you get a touchdown, right? So those kinds of things are just, items that the Broncos need to get much better at when it comes overall, and especially in this game, because the Chiefs do a wonderful job of paying attention to the details. The Ravens did the same thing last week, and it ended up allowing for them to, absolutely smoke us in a game that I can tell you that first half was a lot closer than a lot of people think. Um, it certainly was, and I can give you guys tons of examples. So go out there and give yourself a chance to win, right? Excited about that. Some key matchups and some things that I really wanted to pay attention to, guys, is how is the interior of this offensive line going to fare against somebody like a Chris Jones? Good news is this team's very experienced with playing against him. He's an unbelievably dominant player, in my opinion, the best defensive lineman in the league, bar none. And the way that Luke Wattenberg, if he's the one that starts in his return, Ben Powers and Quinn Miners end up handling him is going to be huge, because he is somebody that can wreck the game, and he can make it very difficult for somebody like Bo Nix to not be able to step up, to not feel comfortable in the pocket, having a clean pocket if there's going to be pressure coming up the middle. So that's going to be one of the key matchups that I'm certainly looking at. I think is as a key for the Broncos getting a victory. Another one is going to be Cortland Sutton against Trent McDuffie. Right, it's time for Cortland Sutton to. He's kind of on a heater right now. He's got 2 games in a row over 100 yards. He's going to have to solidify himself as to show why he's the number one receiver. Trent McDuffie is a very good corner, and Trent McDuffie has gotten the best of Cortland Sutton in more recent matchups. So how is he going to play against him? They might just say, instead of doubling up on Cortland like a lot of teams do, they just might tell McDuffie, hey, go one on one with him. So can he get open? And can he make plays? If not, we're going to have to rely again on the same not so inspiring other players other than Cortland Sutton on this offense to get the ball rolling overall. And another thing is another key matchup for me is Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito against these tackles. Right. Let me tell you guys something about the Chiefs. You look at their PFF, you watch the games, look at them on film. What you see is that the interior of their offensive line is absolutely elite. I mean, incredibly phenomenal. Creed Humphrey, without a doubt, the best center in the league. Joe Tooney and Trey Smith are out of this world at the guard position. They're phenomenal on the interior of the defensive line in both the run and the pass game. The weaknesses that they have are at the tackle positions, right? They've started Kingsley Suma Mataya, I think is his name. Sorry if I got that wrong. He's actually a rookie. He's had some games where he's played. Juwan Taylor is like the guy that gets away with every single false start and lining up in illegal formation all the time. Don't get me started on him, but he's somebody that can get beat. And then Wanya Morris is somebody else that's been playing the other starter for them as well, and he's had his struggles also. So the weakness on their offensive line is going to be their tackle position. Can these edge players, can Jonathan Cooper really earn that new contract starting this week? He's already earned it, but prove that that was a good um, signing and really make his money getting after the quarterback this week. And we'd like for Nick Bonito to stay hot and be able to take advantage of some things too. If we can limit their run game, if we can put Patrick Mahomes in this offense in third and long situations, right? Because they're always going to be trying to win on first and second down. But if we can get the situations where we can unleash the blitz, where we can mix some things up, and those edge rushers can get to Patrick Mahomes, it's going to give us a good chance defensively to limit what this team is doing on the offensive side of the ball. So certainly looking forward to that. And another matchup, I think it's a pretty obvious one, but for me, it's DeAndre Hopkins against Patrick Surtain. Love D Hop. He's always been one of my favorite players. So it kind of breaks my heart that he's with the Chiefs, but I can't hate him because of that. I just love the guy. But I feel so confident in Patrick Surtain being able to limit him, take him off, take him out of the play a lot of the time. And if he can do that, that really limits the kind of weapons that Patrick Mahomes has. Now I get it, right? He still has Travis Kelsey. You know, he's got he's got Noah Gray playing well at the tight end position. I mean, they've got some guys at tight end that can obviously beat you. But the Chiefs have shown that when they didn't, before they got DeAndre Hopkins and after Rashee Rice got hurt, when they were kind of going through a different, kind of some average receivers or some receivers that weren't all that good, they weren't their normal explosive selves. Now the Chiefs are so good because they find a way to win games regardless of what it takes. But if you can eliminate DeAndre Hopkins, it's going to make uh, everything else covering on the field a lot easier, right? You're basically playing now one side of the field, and so that can have an adverse effect on a lot of different things there too. But overall, guys, it's going to come down to the details, to doing the small little things right. I am really looking forward to seeing the way that this team bounces back after some adversity. Adversity. One I've seen and what this team has proven is that they do bounce back pretty well, right? They started off 0-2 and they smash out, four straight wins. So, they lose to the Chargers, they come back, they bounce back, they get two straight wins. So how is that going to happen against this team? Is this team prepped? Like we said, guys, this season's always been about development. It's always been about developing Bo Nix. I feel like we've already won and we've already had a successful season based off what we've seen with Bo. But I'm excited because it's a great measuring stick again for this team. We're going to find out a lot about how this team is built. Um, you know, back to back road games, right? This is against a divisional opponent. How are we going to play? I've had a really strong feeling before the Baltimore game about this one. I always kind of felt like we were going to lose to Baltimore. We were going to win the Chiefs. I don't know why. Gut feelings is not gonna. It's not data. It's not analytics. It's just the gut feeling. But I do like the way the Broncos are match up against the Chiefs. I think we've been building this roster for God knows how long, trying to counteract what the Chiefs have been doing. Have we done a great job of it? In some areas, yes. In some areas, no. But we've always managed to play them really well. Divisional opponents typically tend to play each other really strong, right? All the time. You see it across the league. I mean, the Browns beat the Ravens before we played them, right? The Bengals and the Ravens went back and forth on Thursday Night Football. You'll always see there's been years where when the Niners were killing it and the Arizona Cardinals were terrible. Arizona would always kind of give them a run for their money. These are things that happen across the league. We don't even have to give you any more examples than that. So we've always played against them well. Um, I just feel like the Chiefs are due for a loss. I like the fact that we're catching them on a short week. They went to overtime against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers showed some things, I think, of ways that you can find success against this really good defense. And I just feel like we're catching him at a good time. I like the fact that we're coming off a loss. It kind of allows for us to refocus, and we'll see. My final prediction is this. All right, I think the Broncos are going to get a win in Arrowhead. I think it's going to be one of those where it's the last minute. Just have a feeling it might be a game-winning kick for Will Lutz, and I have them winning the game with a final of 26-24. Hope I'm right. We'll see. Go Broncos, baby. We will have I'll have a pregame tomorrow. I'll go live. So stay tuned for that. Excited for it. And Obviously, we'll have the post game later in the evening with David and Jeremy as well. So looking forward to that as well. All right, guys, go Broncos. Peace out. Spend time with those you love. Stay warm if you're here in Denver, Colorado, man. Be safe. And until next time, everybody, peace out.